I can be a bit of a bulldozer.
Yes, that is right. This episode of Flash Drive is proudly brought to you by Cronulla's new prop, Scotty M, who is tackling the big issues in children since May 18, 2022. J-Law, what a moment we have been gifted. And also I should point out, if you are watching us on YouTube right now, because of music rights, you wouldn't have got that really lovely new intro that we had there. It will be something similar-ish to Nelly, Here Comes the Boom, but it won't be exactly that.
It'll pump you up, though.
It'll pump you up. What a moment.
Oh, that was just gold.
Was calling out for it, this election campaign.
Yeah.
A bit of politician v
needed
sport.
it. And the Flash team chat was just popping off with all the memes and all the gags and the, comparisons to bulldozers.
Yeah. I've got to say that this, maybe it's because we've just been living and breathing it, but this federal election campaign, particularly in the last 2 weeks, has really delivered when it comes to the puns. Mm-hmm. I'm a bulldozer. Anthony Albanese says that, well, I'm not a bulldozer. I'm a builder. Mm-hmm. I'll fix the things that he's breaking, being the Prime Minister. And then for the Prime Minister to actually run over a child. What a time. What a time.
All the cameras were there.
Oh,
beautiful.
So
beautiful
good.
Scenes.
So good. And we should point out as well that the child is okay, the young boy. Here's Luca Fauvet. Well,
true.
That's fair. I think that's fair. I don't think that's in dispute here. It should have been an absolute penalty. You can't be making those kind of fouls.
The ref was asleep on that one.
In football, absolutely asleep on that one. Do you think that actually bothered Scott Morrison? Now he's talking about that? Nah.
I mean, the thing about this moment, it was so beautiful and funny and but there is some significance to it in the sense that ScoMo loves doing these kind of photo ops, meaningless stuff for the cameras.
Yeah.
And for once he kind of got tripped up doing it,
I know. And it just, you can't think about that moment and not think about Boris Johnson running over the child in a rugby game. Do you remember that?
That's right. And didn't he have hasn't he done something on a flying fox or something?
Oh,
or something
yes.
like that as well?
That was when he was mayor, wasn't it? And he was
Yeah.
on a flying fox just going through London or something. It is funny though when you see politicians just trying to be normal people, which I know they are. And that's the basis of a lot of their campaigns. Well, allegedly, right? They want to relate to normal people. They have to put up this front that they are. But then, on the sporting field, they always found wanting, really.
You know who's a good sports person? Frydenberg.
Really?
Yeah. Have you ever seen him kick an AFL ball?
Oh, I was going to say, is it Aussie rules? Because he's, Melbourne electorate.
There's good footage of him. I think it was the last election where he was sorry, I don't know the footy term, but to the far left of the sticks.
Yes.
And had to do one of those kicks that curves around.
Like a banana kick.
Straight through.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, banana kick, is that what it's called?
Well, yeah, potentially.
Sure.
It's different terminology. We're going to say that is it.
Yep.
Isn't that interesting? Because I don't really see him, no offence to the treasurer, Josh Frydenberg. I don't see him as a natural athlete.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Well, there you go. Just like this, what we're talking about right now, only the biggest issues covered here on the show. I am Georgie Tunny.
And I'm James Law.
And this is Flash Drive. J-Law, what a week. This is our final episode, not forever. God, hopefully I've not shocked too many people there, giving you a little bit of a heart attack. But final episode before the federal election before the federal election day. The campaign will be done. Both major parties have made their last-ditch pitches to voters this week. Polling is nearly here. Has anything that they've been saying left a lasting impression? Arguably, this is, I think, the most memorable moment of the campaign. I think this is the winning moment here.
There's a hole in your budget, dear Labour. Taxes are coming, more taxes with Labour. There's a hole
I'm not going to lie. This impressed me. I have to, in all seriousness, because this came from an official, not just the song, like the song itself as a campaign ad. Yep, we're over those. But the remix of this came from an official Liberal Party platform, right?
Your heart out,
Yeah.
DJ Albo.
Yeah, that's right.
You've been snookered.
That you have been snookered. I just think it's so damn catchy.
Well, I mean, so before the remix, there was just that ad that was playing ad nauseum
Yes.
of just the hole in the bucket. And man, it's stuck in my head. I'd be like doing the washing up and singing it to myself.
Well, see, I'd been sleeping on it because I didn't really know that. I'm not sure I wasn't consuming enough social media or the tickle the talk. And then I kind of missed like the original. And then it sort of started trickling through my feed, popping up. And I thought, that is such an earworm. And how many voters do you reckon will just be there in the booth on Saturday and just be like,
Well, I mean, this is it. I think it will be actually probably effective.
Yeah.
And I've read that the reason that the Libs the reason that you've heard it so much is that the testing of it, you know, in Voterland was really high, and like that it was working, like it was sticking with people, the message. So it actually could be quite powerful. And you know, we do have this huge budget deficit, and we're hugely in debt. So at some point, we're going to have to pay it back. So, you know, there is probably some truth in it. I don't know that the Liberal Party can avoid taxing us more either, given how big the deficit is. But anyway.
but hey, they've made a fun little song.
It is a fun song.
It's a very, very fun song.
The good thing, though, is we're now in the media blackout, and they can't put that ad on TV or radio or anything anymore.
Yes,
Only, I
yes.
think, on social. So,
Which is interesting, right? Because I think do you think that TV and radio ads still have the same cut through?
I would have thought that one has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because I'm just thinking, like, in terms of online campaigning, like, surely that if it was banned from online campaign, I don't know how you'd actually monitor that. But then I think it would be maybe more of a technical blackout. I don't know. I mean, I guess that, although in saying that, the United Australia Party ads have been absolutely everywhere across every single channel.
I don't think they're going to work that well.
No, no, maybe not. Maybe not. We are going to get to our thoughts on the election, what exactly we think is going to happen on Saturday. So if you have been struggling to figure out how to vote, who to vote for, we'll go through and try and find some of the differences between the two major parties. I also want to debate J-Law on the length of election campaigns, maybe also how to pronounce the word length.
Beg your pardon?
So how do you say length?
Length.
Oh, see, you say it differently to me as well. So I only found out that this was weird this morning when I was coming into work, and I was having a chat with my partner about what we were going to be talking about on the potty. And I said, oh my God, I hope that we can talk about the length of election campaigns. And he went, what are you saying? Length.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, the length.
No.
Yeah. No, I'm right.
Length. It's
Yeah,
an
but
E.
no, Queenslander. But the ironic thing was he's from Victoria, so he can't really be saying that I've got a weird accent because they pronounce every E with an A.
Yeah. Well, what's happened there? Like, does he do the yellow kind of thing?
Oh, yeah, he goes yellow.
Yeah. See,
And Melbourne.
well, you're both cooked.
Yeah. Well, all right. We'll be debating the length. I
Thank
can't even
you.
say it. Length.
Yes.
Length. That sounds weird. The length of the election campaign. That's coming up. Plus, we're going to be taking a break from the wall-to-wall politics. Our gift to you.
Last time I was in a stadium this size, I was dancing in heels and wearing a glittery leotard. This outfit is much more comfortable.
That is the one, the only Taylor Swift, J-Law. She's now a doctor. And we're going to be talking about the lasting impacts that may or may not have on the world at large. So everyone get excited for that. That's why I'm here.
All hail. Tay-Tay.
All hail Tay-Tay. But first, there's no escaping it. This federal election campaign has really focused on money, money, money. And we've been told from the get-go that it's going to be won and lost with economic management and who is able to deliver that best, or at least appear to deliver that best. However, the campaign has felt a bit same from the major parties. I think that's been one of the major criticisms, or the main criticism, is that everything that the coalition says, Labor says, oh, we'll match it and maybe go a bit beyond. So where are they differing, J-Law? And does this make it harder for voters?
I think it's really hard for voters. You know, we've discussed this. I think a lot of people are disillusioned. They have tried to tune in to the campaign in the hope of it helping them make a decision about how they want to vote, but that neither side is really convinced them. So, and I think you're right. Like, it's been an unusual campaign in the sense that there aren't any sort of huge values propositions that are being debated or any massive policy plans, any humongous visions for Australia's future.
Say, even philosophically, there's not really been any debate.
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing where they've sort of got the boxing gloves out and that there is difference between the parties is in housing. But really what they're targeting is only first home buyers. And, you know, there's a lot of those people, but they're not everyone in Australia.
No.
So, like, there's policies for those people and about time, but generally there aren't big philosophical differences.
No, and with the housing policies, I mean, they were both announced very late in the piece, right? The final 2 weeks, Labor brings out their policy saying that they would help to buy houses for 10,000 or so people who qualify by helping to contribute, was it 40%?
40%
of the deposit?
Yep, that's right. For a new home.
For a new home. And then that opened up the door for criticism from the coalition to say, well, you don't really want the government owning 40% of your house. And then rewind to last Sunday at the coalition's campaign launch. Again, happens so late in these campaigns. I find that very interesting. We'll get to that. But announcing that their own housing policy will then allow first home buyers to dip into their super up to 40% or $50,000, whichever is greater, to help buy their own home.
That's
so
right.
long as they've got the deposit, right? A 5% deposit.
They have to have a 5% deposit, that's
Yes.
right. So, yeah, and like, so there is a difference there, you know. What is the better way to get struggling people into their first home? To let the government back you up or to let you dip into your own super, your own money, and get the leg up that way? They're both rubbish policies.
I was going to say, J-Law, please.
Rubbish.
Rise the platform. We know you have some thoughts on housing. I want to hear it. I want to hear why they're both rubbish, and I want to hear if it was a pointed difference made by the coalition in particular to really pick out this is the area to be like, this is the difference. We've got to really nail this home.
Well, I think here's what I would say about the coalition's policy. I reckon that it is smart politics. I think that for people who have been struggling to buy a home, it's probably the one that sounds the best.
Yep.
Right? It's my money. If I can get ahead and get a house now, that's probably more important than my retirement nest egg because I'll have a house when I retire, right? It sounds good if you don't think about it too much.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. My money. I'm using my money. Why can't you shouldn't be able to tell me what to do with my money? So that's good.
That makes a lot of sense. And I reckon that it probably could swing some votes. Sounds good. It gave ScoMo a real spring in his step this week, I'd say.
It did.
But the problem with that policy is, and the policy has been on the cards, like that's been discussed for the best part of a decade of doing this. But whenever it's been raised, it was raised by Nick Xenophon, I want to say in 2012, with Matt Canavan backing it.
Oh, Matt Canavan.
Yeah. And then, it was rubbished.
Yeah.
Every economist you talk to says, no, it's a bad idea. Matthias Cormann rubbished it. Malcolm Turnbull rubbished it. Peter Costello rubbished it.
Didn't even Peter Dutton say, negative things about it as, I don't know, recently as the last 12 months or so?
Yeah. So the reason that economists say it's bad is because, and this applies to Labor's policy as well, is anytime you put money or give people extra money to, they get a lump sum essentially to buy their home, house prices just go up by that amount.
That's the thing. It's increasing demand right without helping supply.
So, and none of the policies do anything to even touch supply. I mean, ScoMo would say that the downsizing
But
policy
that's been such a low take up. You know, that policy is not new, right? It's been around since 2018, trying to encourage people to downsize to free up properties in the market. But it has such a small take up, so I don't see it actually. Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think any of, if you're thinking of voting on that, it's not going to help the issue. So there's a difference there, but both of the policies are crap.
Yeah. No one has mentioned negative gearing either, of course.
Yeah. Capital gains tax.
Capital gains tax. None of that's happening. One of the other areas, and I guess it is an issue, particularly with younger voters, and they were looking to, I think, have a bit more of a difference between the Coalition's policy and Labor's policy, is about climate change and climate action. But basically the only main difference that I can really see is that Labor has a more ambitious strategy, but it's still only committing to 50% net emissions, cutting net emissions by 2050, or cutting net zero emissions. Here we go. I'll get my words right. Net zero emissions by 2050.
Yeah, but I think that there is a crucial difference there. Labor is putting itself on the line about how they get there 2030, right?
Yes.
Which the Coalition has refused to do. I think that's an important distinction, because the Coalition has a target and an ambition to get to net zero, but they're not really kind of legislating it.
Yes.
And they're not really like, they want to do it. Where like Labor's, I think, has a bit of a stronger commitment to it and a bit of a stronger plan on how. I think that is different. Like, you know, Labor has better credentials on this.
Yes.
The Coalition came to it late. ScoMo got the agreement on this to neutralise a political problem for the election. Yes. Their heart is not in it.
Yeah.
Their heart is not really in it.
And we saw that midway through the campaign with comments that Matt Canavan made about net zero, saying, well, that's essentially dead.
Yeah.
Right? So that was just a little bit of a clue to where the party itself is sitting. Which brings me to my ultimate question, J-Law. Why are election campaigns so long? Do they need to be? Because just talking about that Matt Canavan thing, that at the time became a really huge issue. However, it was 4 weeks ago, which in election terms feels like 4 years.
Yep.
So I'm not sure if that necessarily has any kind of stake now. Do you agree?
Yeah, well, like things blow up and people move past it. I mean, the reason that it's a 6-week campaign is that Scott Morrison wanted to get as much time as he could to campaign, because that's his strength, right?
Yes.
He's very good on the hustings, very good with his messaging, very good at attacking the opponents. So that was why it was, and it's the Prime Minister who decides how long the campaign will be, and also to show up Anthony Albanese. And I think that that's worked.
Yeah.
I think that the sustained pressure that Albo's been under has exposed his weaknesses.
Do you think, though, that throughout, because 6 weeks is such a long time, do you think, though, throughout this period there have been moments where Scott Morrison thought it was going to backfire? Or is he just not that person?
Well, my view is that he gets very energised by the campaign and works bloody hard.
Yes.
You know, he's probably been in, more media appearances than Albo. Like Albo's turned it up in the past 2 weeks and he's certainly working very hard now. But ScoMo's energised by campaigns. He loves it. He lives for it. He's good at them. And, I think that it's important in the strategy, right? He's just going to saturate things, get his messages out, and I think it works for him.
I would say that election campaigns, future advice for future prime ministers, because they watch Flash Drive. They watch us. They listen to us every single week. Both, actually.
They listen, then they
the YouTube
review.
stream. Yep, the platform. Is that 2 weeks? A 2-week campaign, in and out, because I reckon the last fortnight has told us more and has told us more about what both side is thinking about and how both Prime Minister could shape up, how both teams shape up, than arguably the whole rest of it.
Well, I mean, I would think you could justify having a 6-week campaign if you had some policies.
Yeah, that's the thing. Okay.
Neither of them have any policies. They haven't announced jack.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So I get like travelling around the country and seeing areas that you're meant to represent that you've not got to. And of course, that takes a while. Australia, rather big country. I understand that. But when you're not actually saying anything and you've got press conference after press conference just saying the same thing again and again, I guess it just proves why Scott Morrison is the ultimate campaigner.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
Georgie, still on the campaign, there was a really, really interesting moment on Friday that sort of stopped me in my tracks because it's sort of something you don't see very often from the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
A very significant concession and change in language.
Okay.
Have a listen.
And I know Australians know that I can be a bit of a bulldozer when it comes to issues, and I suspect you guys know that too. But you know, over the last few years, that's been pretty important to ensure we've been able to get through some of the most important things that we've had to do.
Bit of a bulldozer. This is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
What was this about? What did you make of his comment?
I think that he got some feedback from some focus groups about how voters were turning away from him personally and therefore turning away from the coalition, which I think Scott Morrison being Scott Morrison, you know, the PR man, Scotty from marketing, I think that would have driven him insane. And he would have gone, hold up, how do I turn this? Okay, they don't like me. All right, well, I'll change a little bit. Because he didn't, I like how you said a concession of sorts, because it was, I've been a bulldozer, maybe, that sounds like a bit of a bully, got to say. And I have to say both leaders have been, you know, throughout and before this federal election campaign accused of bullying. So when we focus in on Scott Morrison and declaring that, oh, yeah, okay, I can be quite forceful with what I want and what needs to happen, but that's because the environment at the time called for it. But in the future, we're looking more optimistic. Things are greener. Things are a little bit more glittery. So therefore, I don't have to be such a combative personality or person, especially in dealings and negotiations, which will ultimately happen.
So do you think, what did you make? Do you think that will resonate with people? Will people go, oh, yeah, fair enough? Or will they go, meh?
I think it may work.
Yeah?
I think it may work. The whole vibe of the never-ending election campaign, we've said it before on Flash Drive. I thought at the beginning it was looking Labor was in such a strong position. Halfway through, I thought hung Parliament, minority government Labor. The last week, probably ever since this bulldozer comment, I've kind of thought the coalition has a little bit of momentum here. And if you look at the seats, you look at the numbers, and
Australians.
Excuse me, bulldozing in. Hold on. Sorry for that technical
Like
glitch.
you talking about me?
Yeah, sorry. Scott Morrison just wanted to get in again. I think that this last week in particular, the seats that need to be won by the coalition, you know, they only need to win 3. They can't lose any, but they only need to win 3, right, to form a majority government. Labor has to maintain everything and win 7.
It's quite a task.
And I think that kind of debate's been lost throughout this campaign, really, just numbers wise, that it's going to be so tough for Labor. So even if it is a big swing, it has to be a really big swing. And I think that Scott Morrison changing this narrative about him being a bully is good with voters, because they're like, yeah, well, he had to be that way. Actually, hang on, voters have short memories. I know that the whole thing, everyone's like, oh, hang on, but he went to Hawaii, he did the vaccine rollouts bad, da-da-da-da. I'm just not banking on that now. My whole mindset sort of shifted.
Okay. Because the thing for me about the bulldozer comment, and this is sort of how Tracy Grimshaw
Oh, yeah.
famously challenged him on ACA. It was
Wasn't a good
cracker
interview.
interview if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, Lee Sales who?
Yeah.
Joking, we love you too, Lee.
There's room for both.
Yes, yes.
You know, she challenged him on that because the thing about Scott Morrison is like he was trying to turn it into a positive, right? You know, I was really forceful in getting what I wanted when I needed to.
Yes.
But that's not really what happened, right?
No.
When it was, the COVID pandemic, the premiers were running the show.
Yes.
They were the ones closing borders. They were the ones with the kind of constitutional power to
Okay.
do what they liked. And they did, you
Yes.
know. Scott Morrison convened meetings with all of them, but they did whatever the hell they wanted. So he didn't bulldoze them. When we needed vaccines real quick, we didn't have them.
No.
When we wanted rats, they weren't there. So, I mean, you know, if he was being a bulldozer and achieving, I would have forgiven it. But,
Clearing
like,
the way for foundations to be built.
exactly. So, I don't know. Again, if you think about it a little bit, I don't know that the metaphor really works.
Yeah. Maybe that's true. I was thinking about it, I think, more from a journalist perspective, being in the press pack and how he just goes as such a bulldozer, just full steam ahead. Whatever I want to say, this is what I want to say. But in the greater context, I can see what you mean. Do you think the voters can discern the difference?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that'll really work for him. I feel like it's too little too late a week out to go, I can change.
So is your vibe feeling more the vibe of the thing? Are you feeling more that it's with Anthony Albanese or it's with Scott Morrison?
Look, I've been very wrong with my predictions before. let me say that
this
out
is.
front.
I'm writing it in stone, J-Lo. No, writing it in stone. I've got my little chisel here.
Yeah.
So whatever you say, be held to account.
If you're asking me to take a stab in the dark to
Yeah.
make a guess, I think that Labor will get there.
Okay.
I think that they will. Not because anyone is enamoured with Anthony Albanese or because they've smashed the campaign for none of those reasons. I think it's simply that it's time. It's time. Australians, you know, this is about the time where they change governments. You know, it's been 9 years. It's been 3 terms. I think that people will probably give the other side a go. I think ScoMo is really problematic for the Liberal brand. I think a lot of people are off him.
Especially in those teal seats.
Yep. And so I think that they do remember all of those things that he didn't get quite right. And I think that could be just enough to get Labor to a slim majority.
What has Anthony Albanese done right this campaign?
He's not very polished and he's not very across the detail and he can stumble. But I think that ultimately people seeing his conviction, you know, I think that he does care about things like childcare and like getting more women in work. Like I think he genuinely does want that. I think he cares about Australian manufacturing and those kind of stuff. Like, you know, I think that he does have that Labor values, and I think he does hold them with conviction. And I don't think you can say that about Scott Morrison. He really is just much more of a politician and just whatever he needs to do. Like they call Scott Morrison likes to say that Anthony Albanese is a weather vane and changes and flip flops but Scott Morrison does that so much.
And he does it, but this is the thing. So what I would say that he does right is perform.
Yes.
So we often talk about him being the ultimate campaigner. He, regardless of what question it is that's put to him, what criticism is directed towards him, even that Tracy Grimshaw interview where you're like, oh my gosh, she's just laid that all out there. I think he was affronted at first, but he somehow found a way to be like, well, that's not my take on it, and then go hard back on what message he wanted. He has this absolute gift of being able to talk about what he wants, no matter what.
Yeah, and you've got to hand it to him for that in terms of the politics of it.
Yes.
You know, he bulldozes through every time. He's really, really good at it. And, that might be enough. That might be enough. But yeah, I don't know. I that's where my head's at.
I do think that where Scott Morrison, maybe this is another difference between the pair and the parties. I do think that one misstep from him, which he'd probably say is a strength because it's putting him on show, but one misstep from him is not putting the women in his cabinet, giving them more of a platform. Because you have a problem, you have a women's problem, and they've been absolutely absent. And we've talked previously about them being not only absent, but when they are present, the random times that they are, they've been very unimpressive.
Yeah.
And I think that is a big issue when it comes to potentially the key marginal seats, these teal seats, because a lot of those members who are going to, the polls say, are going to really cause some chaos when it comes to Dave Sharma, Josh Frydenberg. They're very professional, powerful women. So it is if that happens, if those seats fall, I think that is a very clear message.
Yeah. And, the coalition, because of their policy to be against, gender quotas, means that they just don't have that bench strength of women like Labor does. And I know that it's against their values to kind of try to parachute women in, but this is where you see that it's possibly a mistake because they don't have those women and they're not putting them front and centre. So it is just that that masculine energy of ScoMo all day.
Yeah. So you say Labor, I say coalition.
Let's meet back here on Monday and see who wins.
And figure out. I'm putting the chisel away. All right, we're done talking about the election. It's nearly upon us. We will have a wrap-up, I promise, Flash Drive listeners, the full analysis of what goes down on Saturday. But we're done with it right now. What I want to talk about, the key news of the week. Taylor Swift, 11-time Grammy Award winner, has become a doctor. Thank you. Round of applause. I find this very exciting because I love her more than probably anything. So this just makes complete sense to me. It was an honorary doctorate awarded to her in fine arts by NYU, where, J-Law, you can study a course about Taylor Swift. I know, the power. But what I want to know from you is that if you were awarded an honorary doctorate, what would you be doctoring in?
Watching TV?
Is that your special subject?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When Netflix asks, "Are you still watching?" the answer is yes. I'm still watching.
You do know there are film and television courses that you could do those now. You could be a doctor of film and television.
You're just watching it. Yeah.
What's like a random thing though? What's a random thing that I would be surprised that I don't know about you that you like? I have so many that I'm just like
Wow.
I mean, it's not random that I like Taylor Swift. I say that to you every day. You say good morning and I say, how great's Taylor Swift?
I don't have a good answer. I don't know.
No? Not like a hobby? Because you're very good at trivia. You're also very good... You are very good at trivia.
I know some shit.
Yeah, you know some shit. You're very good at Hurdle, the game about music where you have to learn. So maybe that could be your special subject.
Yeah.
As
I
well.
Kind of know some music, some Beatles, some 60s, from 60s to today.
Yeah. See, what I'm thinking is I like random things like watching CrossFit.
Watching, not participating.
Correct. That's the key. The key thing. Yeah.
Have you ever done it?
No. And I don't really have an intention to, but I like watching it. And I'll watch the CrossFit Games. I know all of the athletes.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
Just
Tia Claire Toomey.
See them.
What a legend.
Throw themselves into it.
Yeah.
They're crazy.
They are. But I've gone back and watched like YouTube series like of the participants getting ready for CrossFit. Maybe I also have a film and television addiction. Just both of us.
You do.
I do, yeah. I definitely
This is an intervention.
I definitely do.
No, but would you do the Taylor course? Could you just do that on the side? You've got heaps of spare time, Georgie.
I know, so much spare time. I would like to. I don't actually. What would you go? Okay, this now it's got me thinking. I would like to, but I don't know what necessarily I would gain from it because I'm already pretty across everything.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know exactly what that qualification would allow me to do. Like, I'm already a diehard Swiftie, and I feel like I don't need a degree to say that. But if you could go back to school, what would you study?
Oh, languages.
Because
I never, they weren't really, there was not really an option at my school because I was sort of a country school. Like, there was French, I think. But yeah, I always regret never doing another language. Yeah, that
Still
would be my
time.
thing.
Still time.
I know, I actually downloaded that Duolingo app.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I downloaded one as well called Memrise, and it reminds me every day at 3 p.m, it's time for you to learn French. And I'm like, goodbye.
Au revoir.
Yeah. No. You don't need it. You're done. You're fluent.
I'm good. Yeah.
You're already fluent.
Bon. What about you? Anything you would have done? You didn't want to be a sporting star yourself?
No, I just never had any of the skills.
neither.
Yeah. Like, I used to swim, but as is now, anyone who's watching our podcast right now, they'll see this huge bandage that I have on my arm because I tripped over a stationary e-scooter. Wasn't riding it, wasn't hit by it. It was just sitting in the middle of the road.
It's
dangerously.
Sound like was being pretty aggressive.
Yeah,
that
and I just-
e-scooter, stationary e-scooter.
I completely, absolutely stacked it in the most spectacular way, and it yelled at me, the e-scooter. So,
What did it say?
you must pay. You must pay. Insert your credit card.
Oh.
While I was like crawling away, bleeding out on the pavement, crawling away from this e-scooter.
I thought it was like, you hurt me, you must pay.
No, it was, oh God, what a wild time. No, I didn't want to be an athlete. I reckon I'd go back though and maybe try and learn, one, money,
Oh yeah.
and two, technological things. Like, maybe I could be a coder. Our producer's laughing because he knows how bad I am at just playing the grabs.
Yeah, a coder? I wouldn't have thought
Coder.
so.
Are they
I
called
wouldn't have
coders?
thought so.
No.
Yeah,
Engineers.
it's a thing. Yeah,
Isn't it?
coder.
Coder?
I don't know.
Oh, well, that's what we'll be next week, guys.
Yeah, well, I,
Check
I
in.
think people who listen know that we're not so good on the numbers, so maybe we should have gone back and done harder maths.
Or Dr. J. Law, linguist, and Dr. Tunny. What am I? I can't even remember. All things.
Economist.
Oh, economist.
Mm-hmm.
That's a worry, isn't it? That's a worry. It's a real worry. All right, J. Law, back to the election just briefly. What can we be watching on Flash? How can we be consuming what happens this weekend?
Yeah, well, look, if you're not a Flash subscriber, this is the time to do it, right? Remembering you've got a 14-day free trial because this weekend you're not going to find better coverage than on Flash. We will have live coverage from 6 a.m. on Saturday going right through to the main event, which is from 5 p.m. on Saturday, where the results will happen. So we'll have Sky News Live with a strong panel hosted by Kieran Gilbert.
Who was excellent in the First Leaders debate.
Yes, he was.
Excellent moderator.
He's very good. And, it'll be, instant analysis, the calling of the seats. It'll be really exciting, And
You're actually nerding out. You're
I
like,
am
this
nerding
is
out.
going to be so great.
it is going to be really good. And what's really interesting is like when it clicks over to 6 p.m., none of the pollies have to spout their lines anymore and they
Yes.
start to tell the truth about what their fate is. And that's when it gets really interesting. So, so we'll have the live coverage, but we'll also be trying to bring you, the moments, the instant analysis. If you don't want to watch the whole thing, you can get, open up Flash the next day and get like the shorthand version of what you need to know. So now's the time, flashnews.com.au.
We will also be back with a special episode early next week, Flash Drive, election wrap. So if you do enjoy listening to J-Law and I pretend to be doctors every single week, who wouldn't? Make sure that you like this podcast, subscribe to this podcast, tell everyone about this podcast because it is such a joy to be able to talk to J-Lo every single week.
It was a pleasure.
And I'm
The
sure
pleasure's all
a
mine.
joy to bloody listen to.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not beyond giving ourselves a pat on the back. You know this about us. J-Lo, I will see you next week. Enjoy. Can I call this Nerds Christmas as well? Like, I know we called that for the budget, but I think this is also Nerds Christmas election.
This is Nerds Easter.
Nerds Easter, arguably more significant.
Well, we'll see if ScoMo gets his resurrection.
Miracle. See you, J-Lo.
Bye.